What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about a player that I feel like has not gotten a lot of attention in terms of contract extensions. We've talked about player options for Andre Drummond, talked about player options for Derrick Jones Jr., talked about, I guess, expiring deal, a restricted free agency for Kobe White, but someone that is not necessarily on an expiring deal, but someone that is probably seeking an extension and is one of our better players. Today I'm talking about DeMar DeRozan and whether or not the Chicago Bulls should extend him going into the future of the Chicago Bulls team. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you would extend DeMar DeRozan and give him the money that he's probably seeking, the years that he's probably seeking, and continue going in this direction with the Chicago Bulls team. Now, I must say, because I know a lot of people will not like to hear this, DeMar DeRozan has had two great seasons for the Chicago Bulls. I know last season, in which we finished 10th, and DeMar DeRozan was not necessarily at an MVP caliber level like he was in his first year. This season for DeMar DeRozan, or last season I should say, for DeMar DeRozan, has been one of the best seasons he has played in the NBA. It is as simple as that. And again, I'm absolutely not surprised after his first season with the Bulls and this season now. I'm not surprised that DeMar DeRozan is A, seeking an extension, and B, looking for a pay rise with the Chicago Bulls. I completely understand why DeMar DeRozan or his management team would feel like DeMar DeRozan has earned that extension. But there's always two sides of the coin. It's all about, of course, DeMar DeRozan wanting to be here, and B, whether or not the Bulls want DeMar DeRozan to be here and be here long term. So, look, I think if you're wanting to extend DeMar DeRozan, you're extending him for, I would say, at least, I think DeMar DeRozan is probably seeking a 4-year deal just to get more guaranteed money in terms of a max contract type situation. And again, wanting to be paid significantly more, to be paid close to a max contract guy, if not a max contract guy. So basically, the way that I see it, if you extend DeMar DeRozan on that type of money, on those types of years, you're basically saying to the Bulls organization, the Bulls fan base, hey, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, those two guys are going to be the future of the team. Those two guys are going to allow us to compete at the top level and compete for championships. And that's why I feel like a lot of Bulls fans will begin to ask those questions about whether or not the Bulls are actually serious about competing, because we have seen over the course of 2 seasons, the fit between DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine was always a question. And obviously the Bulls finishing 10th in the Eastern Conference this season suggests that that's still a question and that the Bulls are not serious about competing as of yet. And having those two same players that have been the go-to guys for the Chicago Bulls, it is a big question mark about whether or not that is the right direction to go down. Now, I've always said that the Bulls need to build a team around Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. I think those two can work well together, but the team around them I don't think allows them to work well together. You need to have three-point shooting around DeMar DeRozan. He has so much of the ball. He's very much an isolation player, and he's a guy that at the end of the day needs to be able to pass to a three-point shooter that can knock down those threes. And I don't think we have that guy that can knock down threes at a significant and consistent level with the Chicago Bulls. We need multiple guys, in my opinion, to do that. And that's how DeMar DeRozan can be effective with, of course, his isolation and pick-and-roll type game. Same with Zach LaVine. Those two will work well with better three-point shooters around them. But since we don't have, I guess, good three-point shooting around them, those two will, of course, take a lot of the brunt, take a lot of the blame, take a lot of the criticism, but also the question of the fit will not work well together with those two. So yes, there are questions there about DeMar DeRozan, and I guess the big question now, to answer what this video is going to be about, or what it is about, would you extend DeMar DeRozan on those years and that amount of money? I have two things to say. One, there are a lot of people that want DeMar DeRozan to be traded this season. And I think if there is a time to trade DeMar DeRozan, this is the season to do it. Because if you extend DeMar DeRozan on that amount of money, I'm not sure how many teams are willing to put up a trade offer to go and get DeMar DeRozan if you're going to give him 4 years and a max contract level amount of money. I just don't see a way in which a team would be willing to do that unless, for example, maybe the Dallas Mavericks lose Kyrie Irving in free agency or something along those lines. then okay, go and trade for DeMar DeRozan. That type of situation where a team is desperate for another superstar, which is very few and far between these days. I just don't see a way that a team would be willing to trade for DeMar DeRozan on that type of money. But B, on an expiring deal, I know the actual, return for DeMar DeRozan won't be as high as probably what it was on a 2-year deal and stuff of that nature. But with trading him now, you get something in return. If you allow him to go into his final year without extending him, well, then you're not going to get much in terms of a trade value back for DeMar DeRozan. Maybe the Bulls see that as a good thing. Again, maybe getting rid of an expiring deal. Looking into free agency, maybe you can get a couple of picks back in between and you go and use that money on somebody else. It's not a terrible thing to do, and we've seen it in the past. The Bulls have allowed people to enter their final year of their deal and willing to let them go for free in the hopes of extending them in the offseason. They're doing it with Vucevic now. They let him go on an expiring deal. They let him go on into his final year, and there is a risk that he could leave the Chicago Bulls, but the Bulls are obviously confident that they will bring him back next season. So, yeah, there are questions about this. Of course there is. And there is a lot of people that want DeMar DeRozan traded. But for the people that want DeMar DeRozan to stay, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to extend him. I just wouldn't extend him on the 4-year deal. Again, I completely understand DeMar DeRozan wanting a pay rise. I completely understand DeMar DeRozan seeking an extension. And of course, he's given a lot to the Chicago Bulls team in 2 years. He obviously likes to play for the Chicago Bulls. He's talked a lot about how valuable his time with the Bulls has been for him, mentally, physically, everything in between. And of course, deep down, I think Bulls fans have a lot of respect for DeMar DeRozan and appreciate his game and how he plays. But 4 years, in my opinion, is where I probably draw the line. Because if you give him a 4-year deal at this point, I think he'll be around 36 to 37 years of age by the time that contract comes to an end. And then you're obviously thinking about whether or not DeMar DeRozan will begin to decline at some point. Now again, I'm not saying DeMar DeRozan is going to decline next season or even the season after. That's not what I'm saying. But if you give him a 4-year deal, there is a good chance within those 4 years a decline could potentially happen for DeMar DeRozan. And again, I'll bring the Nikola Vucevic example here. Nikola Vucevic had monster double-doubles. I still think a top 10 center in the NBA. I definitely top 10 offensively in the NBA with a shadow of a doubt. He got paid $22 million, I think, this season. I don't see Nikola Vucevic wanting an extension for 3 years for $30 million or stuff of that nature. And that's because with Nikola Vucevic, of course, he's always been a team-friendly guy. That's obviously very, very good and a very good asset to have for the Bulls. But I just think because of his age, he's not seeking that long-term max contract type guy extension or that long-term 26, 27, 30 million type contract. I don't think Nikola Vucevic is seeking that, nor do I think he will get that. And it's kind of how I feel towards DeMar DeRozan. Of course, he deserves a pay rise. He's been phenomenal for the Bulls. But I don't think he should be getting max-level money for 4 years. I personally think if we're going to... Look, honestly, if we trade DeMar DeRozan, I'm okay with that at this point. But if we keep DeMar DeRozan, I think we need to see how he plays in his final year of his contract. I think we need to do what we've done with Nikola Vucevic. We need to let him go, let him play his final year of his contract. It's a contract season, so of course you expect DeMar DeRozan to have that little element of more to his game than last season. You expect him to have a better year. Play his last year of his contract out, and then make that decision. I think he would prioritize the Bulls if the Bulls are going to give him the money in the years without a shadow of a doubt. And again, if he plays well enough and the Bulls do well enough as well, maybe he will earn that max contract level money for 3 or 4 years. But I wouldn't do it now. I wouldn't do it this offseason. And I would let him play his final year out and see how things go. It gives us more flexibility. We don't want our financial situation to be restricted every single season. Right now, a lot of people can say our financial situation is restricted. But let's just say Vucevic does not join the Chicago Bulls this season. Lonzo Ball's contract is expiring very soon. We extend Kobe White, sure. We extend Io, sure. You know, we can do all these things. But for the most part, Zach LaVine is our guy that we're paying a ridiculous amount of money to. DeMar DeRozan on his expiring contract. There is maneuvering there for the Chicago Bulls where we can go and make different deals and retool the team the way that we should retool the team. If you extend DeMar DeRozan now, then that restriction for 2 seasons down the line and 3 seasons down the line is still very restrictive. So I wouldn't do it this offseason. That's my answer on the situation. I would allow him to play his final year of his deal. If we trade him beforehand, well, that's up to the Bulls. I'll leave that for them to decide. But if they don't trade him this offseason, let him play out his final year, and then see whether or not the Bulls are better, the Bulls are competing, the Bulls are doing all the right things, then extend him. If they're not, well then we need to retool the team, and that's where we can go and make decisions. So that is my direction. And of course, I still wouldn't give him 4 years regardless of how well he plays next season. The way that I see it, I think DeMar DeRozan should get a 2-year plus a team option or a player option and give him the money that he's seeking. Give him the money that he's seeking, but don't do it for 4 years. Yeah, give him a 2+1, give him a 3+1 if you wish. Give him a 1+1, you know, 1 year, 1 player option, 1 year, 1 team option, 2 years, a team option. Do these things. I wouldn't give him outright 4 years, in my opinion. That's what I honestly would say. I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments below. Hopefully I answered the question. I wouldn't say right because it's my opinion. I believe I'm right in what I say. But hopefully I answered the question to the satisfaction of the Bull Show viewers. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I know a lot of people have different things to talk about in that regard. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.